Welcome to the KINJAZ Podcast. Here we will discuss dance, life, and whatever the we want.
Folks, welcome back or welcome to Kinjaz Movement in the Shadows. We are your host, Ben.
And I'm Anthony.
And we got a homie in the pod today. We have co-founder of Offset Med. He is a disability consultant. He is a spinal cord injury survivor, repping Quest Crew. We got TJ Lee all up in here.
Dang, I didn't know you were going to give me that nice
TJ
intro.
Anthony Lee.
TJ Anthony Lee. We learned that you guys have the same name.
Yes.
What does TJ stand for?
Taejun.
Taejun. Oh, I just learned upstairs that you're Korean for this whole time.
한국 사람 아니에요. That's me.
See?
That's what I'm not.
What's impressive about that, yeah, that was good.
see.
Anthony has better Korean pronunciation than I know of a lot of my Korean friends.
Anthony has better Korean than Chinese.
Anthony Lee is very Korean, I feel like.
It's a very Korean name, too.
But then it's just, so for me.
Every Asia came from China. Chill out, y'all.
That's true. That's also true. That's also true.
It was like for TJ, it was very, my mom gave me that nickname. So it was just, she set me up like Taehun. It's like, no, TJ. Cool.
I'm telling you, all of us do 23andMe right now. We're gonna find Genghis Khan in there.
Sure. We're all part of it.
Well, people don't ever guess that I'm Korean, so I'm like, I wonder if I have something else in there.
My girlfriend, every time I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And then when I saw you guys at K-Town Night Market, I learned that she was Korean.
She is so Korean. She's
Your
like
girlfriend's Korean.
K-Town Korean.
K-Town
I'm like
Korean.
East LA Korean.
Got
So
it.
there's like differences a little bit.
So she got a little bit of that K-Town girl. Like,
You don't throw off Korean vibes.
Yeah, you don't.
Because I grew up in East LA. That's why Montebello. Not even.
That's
so
why
SGV,
you got the Chinese vibes. There it is.
That's where I'm getting
SGV, but
it
then
from.
not even like the nice SGV. I'm like Southside Montebello, Commerce, East LA kind
So
of
so you're just the minority Asian vibe with like Hispanic influence, is what you're saying.
Or Filipino, I guess. Again, in that sense.
Oh,
right?
you said Montebello, so
Okay.
Montebello. Yeah.
Well,
we're
that was us living in Monterey Park.
True.
We knew right under the 10 freeway. Once you got to like south of the 10, that's like Mexico.
South?
You was in Mexico.
Not even 60. I lived under the 60. So you said south of the 10. Dang.
Okay, fine. South of the 60s for sure. South of the 10, we were actually in between the 60 and 10. Nobody gives a crap. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Well, we're already in it. We're already kind of tapping into your origin story, and we always like to start with our first timers. Give us that story of where you grew up. Give us the journey of however you want to take us down your memory lane.
Cool. Born and raised in LA, right next to the Staples Center, the hospital right there, the big old cross. Grew up in K-Town for a couple of years, like
As a kid?
As a little kid, from
Oh,
like
dang.
0 to like 3 years old. But in between there, I'll get flown to Korea because my mom and dad had to work, and for some reason my dad was like, my mom has to work, and it's like, okay, they sent me to Korea. So I would grow up to like right before kindergarten, and then moved out to Montebello, East LA, Montebello. Some people kind of have like a divide. Grew up in Montebello, just not knowing. It's funny because it's like, oh, Asian. I didn't know Asian color. You know, when you're a kid, when you don't really know what's going on.
You're just figuring it out.
Just being a kid, and then that's where in growing up throughout that whole sequence of things, I met Eris actually really early, part of Quest Crew. Just my brother now. I met him in like 3rd grade. So when you say I don't really act Korean, it's because I hung out with Eris and his family most of the time, and they're just super Filipino. Just hanging out with them.
Shout out Eris.
Yeah, shout out Eris.
Shout out Eris.
And then during that whole time in Montebello, there's like that divide of you could go up to the Asian school, like Sure, or you go to Montebello. And every time I had to go to school, I was always on the cutoff where like I had to go to the other school, the Southside school. I saw all my Asian friends go there, and I'm just always growing up, just kind of singled out minority-ish, but just trying to make friends.
Yeah.
And then as just growing up more, just seeing how like middle class my family was, which is crazy to see a lot of my friends now thinking about it very on the lower economic side, like hanging out with them. And they're like, oh my God, TJ, you have a house, like living all to yourself, like with your family and all that good stuff. And that was basically my upbringing of just East LA, just running amok. Now looking back, I don't think I should have been riding my bike in Montebello, East LA, going back and forth. I should just call my mom, but I was like, oh, I'll bike here and there and stuff like that. Throughout it, it's kind of just wanting to do everything. I was in band. I played clarinet, tuba, band president, and I was like, oh, let me play some volleyball because I wanted to be in sports, but not really because I wanted to be in sports. Girls were wearing like really nice uniforms, and I was like, oh, I'll be where they're at.
Fine as fuck. Yeah,
I want to go where they're at. Oh,
Girls are wearing nice uniforms?
Yes,
Okay.
and then I was just trying to find volleyball seemed easy at the time.
Okay.
I was like, oh, let me try volleyball. Just not easy at all. Guys' team sucked at my school. The girls were just smashing us, and at that point, I wanted to learn a little bit more. During that time, my teacher was he was Filipino, I think Filipino, Hawaiian. Something. He just really is like, you gotta do this. You gotta do this. So now knowing back, it's like, oh, like the only Asian, one of the few Asian kids in school, like, I need him on my team. Let's do this. So did that. Started breaking, and the middle school, I was like a breaker. That was like my background of dance, at least, all the way to throughout high school. Yeah, and then that's that. And then there was after high school, right after high school was my accident, the accident, the trip, and that's where kind of like second wind of my whole life restarted again, which is funny.
All right, so I'm gonna get in to give a little context for people and even some of the beautiful inspiration as to like, you know, why you're here and why we are so honored to have you here, right? TJ is also part of Quest Crew, you know what I mean? The group that beat us. No, I'm just kidding. The group that we love, very, very, very great friends of ours and stuff. And I've always known TJ to just be like this dude who's just hella nice. We've probably been to like 50 parties together and just randomly showed up, and it's just like I would always be like, TJ's hella nice and hella cool. What were you gonna say right now?
I feel like because Victor been to like all of your passes from like Doug's Mansion and all the names. I saw you so much.
Exactly. We've always been in like those social events, those pockets of like unfiltered, free flow hanging life. And you've always just been to me, I'm like, oh, this is a nice ass Asian looking dude. You know what I mean? But you always had, you know, a physical disability, and I never cared to like specifically broach your story out. You know, nobody does that, right? Like, you don't like go to somebody like, what happened? You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, this cool guy. And you were always with Quest Crew as well. So I was like, all right, cool, he's Quest, you know. But obviously our relationship with Quest is usually like, you know, Quest is like a dance crew, and it's like, oh, what is TJ doing in like a dance crew when he's not really dancing? And you know, you were dancing and now are no longer dancing. I'm like, what is that role? Like, you know, I wanted to understand like the mechanics of how a crew comes together when somebody doesn't necessarily dance. But like we never really had a formal chance to super dive into it. And I remember like through the grapevine hearing about how you had gotten in an accident with Ryan. Again, same thing. It's not my business. I didn't choose to like inquire at some like ridiculously deep level and just like look at you another time and be like, what happened? Yeah. It was always just great, like, you know, good vibes in passing. And I knew the story, but it wasn't until recently. I've obviously been co-hosting Just Kidding News with Ryan Anime. And one of the prompts in our videos, we end up talking about, you know, like just different historical moments and blah, blah, blah. Ryan's actually, it was first prompted by, I think, something about like ex-girlfriends or something like that. One thing leads to another. I'm going to leave that for the juice is on JK News if anybody wants to find it. And it's some dark juice. But one thing leads to another, and then ends up going, you know, from an ex-girlfriend trip that he wanted to visit up in the Bay was the same trip that you were in a car with him that had said accident that led to like all of the things that you just said right now that culminated, like, quote unquote, the accident that ended up really starting the next phase of your life. That powerful story to me, something that I'd been like around, but I never known the details of. It was so impactful, so inspiring, and you know, just having you come here today and maybe us getting a second chance to dive deeper and talk about it was something that, like, you know, I was hoping that we'd be able to get into.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, like when I met you guys socially, everyone was so accepting, which was kind of opposite of what I hear from my other disability community peers, where they see the disability first. But it's funny how much the dance community was just accepting, especially in that social setting. Also, it kind of helps that when I stand really still, I'm just chilling, you can't see my disability. When it's like something happens, like in that social settings, it was like, he's just drunk. He's just like that's cool. That's cool if that was. But the fact that you guys just accepted me fully was like such a blessing when I talked to because I'm still connected to my disability community. Is that very like they haven't found a set of people where saw past it and seeing, because even in my group there's not that many people that knew me before that still knows me now. So that's like the cool thing, especially the dance was just very just we're all here to vibe, and it was good times. And it's funny, for all the breaking stuff, it was like I used to break with Eris and Ryan. And even with that trip, we were coming down.
So let's get into it for people who might be hearing this for the first time, like in whatever comfortable way you're willing to recap, like what happened, and then we can get caught up with like, you know, who you are.
Also context, I was talking to Ant before you got here. I'm like, I actually don't know anything about your story. So this is a real, like, I'm very curious. Again, you know, obviously however you want to get into it, but like, because I only met you in the context of like, oh yeah, this guy hangs out with Quest. I didn't even know you were officially part of the crew, to be honest. So I'm like, this is like really my first time learning your story. So yeah, I'm very, very curious.
Damn, Ryan tells us so good. Because most of the time, my girl's like, tell him more. I'm like, I don't know, just, you know, got in an accident, something happened. So
I'll fill in some of the blanks for extra dramatic effect, since I've heard the story many times.
I finished high school. I was supposed to start college like a week before. Didn't know even which college I was going to go to. I applied to like Cal State LA, Fulton, Long Beach. They all said yes. I'm like, cool, I'll figure that out. And then talking online on AIM, just like, hey, like we should do something. You know, this is my last weekend before we start officially. Me, Ryan, JC, Eris, we're just all talking. And then Ryan and JC brings up, oh, like, let's go up north. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm down. Like, when? In a couple days. All right, I'm down. Not knowing they had girls up there they're going to see. That's where the Ryan's ex-girlfriend part comes in. They didn't tell me about that. I was like, cool. My family, I have some family. My uncles, cousins are up north. I could come see them. This is like a nice guys trip. Let's go. That night passed where we talked. Like, we text each other the next day, like, we're still doing this, right? Like, all right, let's go. Can you drive, Ryan? I don't think Ryan was able to drive. He might have had like a speeding ticket maybe or something like that. JC didn't have a car. So I was like, all right, I'll drive. It's stick shift. Can you guys drive it? Right now. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll handle it. Let's go. The next day we get ready. We meet up with Eris. He was like, last minute, he's like, oh, I'm gonna stay back. I'm like, he's like, oh, he was hanging with the girl, like, you do your thing, man. You do your thing. We gotta do this guy's trip, not knowing these other two are gonna see their girls too. I was like, all right, cool. We drive up that night.
You got conned into driving for the other guy's simp trip.
They didn't know, but it's still good times. Drove up that night, got into the bay in the morning. It was too early to hit up my family. Had breakfast. Ryan's like, oh, I could go see my girl now. I was like, oh, throughout the drive, they told me like, oh, okay, is it cool if we see our girls? Like, all right, it's cool. You know, we're already on the road. We're not gonna say no.
Yeah.
So we go
You're
drop
6
off.
hours away from home, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So we drop off Ryan at his girl's place, like not even in the bay. I thought it was like close to SF, but it's Pleasanton. It's like on the other side, like going into it. Yeah. Drop them off, come back, see my family. They're up now, just seeing. They're like, oh, what are you doing up here? It's like, just a guy's trip. Wanted to see you, say hi. It's like, should I call your mom? Like, no, don't call her mom. She just knows that I'm out for a couple days and come back. Just chilling, hanging out. JC finally gets a text like, oh, I could go visit my girl too. I was like, okay, cool. I'll drop you off. That's in San Jose. So drive down another couple hours. We get there. This guy brought flowers and everything, and she wasn't there. I was like, well, are we gonna hang out, just chill? So we kind of chill for a couple hours. No one comes like, all right, we're just gonna go up. We go back up to the bay. And then he gets a call like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna drive back down. I'm kind of tired now, you know." And it's like nighttime now, as we're eating dinner. Get a call from Ryan. "Hey, you gotta come now." I'm like, it's like, I'll explain later. You gotta come now. It's all right. Drive out to where he's at, a couple hours out, pick him up, and then like the story part. Ryan's like, I get there, I text Ryan. Ryan's like coming out, like just booking into my car. He's like, just go, 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 go. I was like, cool. So I mean, that I guess it's like, oh, I guess this is the end of the trip. I found out that the girlfriend's parents are there, and they didn't know Ryan was there. That's why you had to book it really quick. So we're like, all right, we're driving down. As I'm driving down, I'm just slowly getting tired. I drove like 12 hours plus, like just all day and on the stick shift. Especially in SF, like stick shifts, fucking just crazy.
The hills.
And then eventually, I'm getting tired, and I'm like, hey, oh, Ryan's knocked out, cool. Hey, JC, I could teach you how to drive stick shift. Freeway, it's cool. You mess up something, just keep going. He's like, well. I let him drive, and I said, a couple hours, just give me a couple hours rest, it'd be cool. But he wanted to drive more, just to be nice, so I could get some rest. We're also coming back to try to attend a b-boy event. I think Ryan was going to enter.
So this is just a 1-day trip. You guys drove up and you're coming back the same day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then should have been 2 hours, but he tried to drive for like 5 hours, fell asleep. And the last thing I remember was just him saying, "Oh shit." And then like just rumbling and tumbling and like just dirt and then I woke up. And then I was like, what's going on? You know, like, hey, anyone there? I couldn't move my body. I was like, hey, I couldn't really talk because like my vocal cords are all messed up. I just broke my spine. Just bleeding, apparently bleeding out because I didn't know it wasn't even till like the last couple of years. Like, hey, anything else you want to tell me about what happened, Ryan? He's like, oh, you're bleeding out. Like, oh, I felt like I was just tired. So I'm like, hey, they finally came to me because so he fell asleep, hit a ditch, and like flew off in a direction. There was a trucker that saw it this whole time from far away, and like he's from the headlights. He said we flipped like 10 times, which is crazy.
And just to again add unnecessary dramatic flair, Ryan was also talking about like in those moments, aside from you literally being tired from asleep, there's also like when you get into that moment, like after the accident, he's like bleeding out from his neck and stuff like that, and Ryan was coming up to him and trying to like make sure he's okay. And all TJ was doing, he wasn't realizing that like all this was happening. He was just like, yeah, I'm just tired, you know what I mean? But it's actually those moments when you're like bleeding out and stuff that if you like fall asleep, then that's right, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's synonymous to like death, yeah. Then you'll just bleed out and your body just like functions in a different way. So the entire time Ryan was like desperately trying to like keep him awake, even though like it was quick blur like, to you in that moment.
Yeah, super quick blur. Like from the time I hear like, oh shit, and the car rumbling to waking up, like I don't know how much time's passed, but I just woke up. Dust is in my mouth. I could barely breathe. Couldn't move around. And like the first thing was like, shit. Oh, and then I just
Were you in the passenger seat?
I was in the back seat, so I drove like a 2-door Sentra.
Mm-hmm.
And then so if I sat straight, I would have gone crushed down. But that was like a whole different thing. But I was laying down just so I could just like rest my legs and everything. So the way it got crushed, you couldn't tell if it's the front, back, up, down, just because the way it flipped over.
Yeah.
And then they were able to pull me out like from the side window, like the little.
So Ryan and the other homie, what's his name? JC. They were fine.
They're fine. They got a couple of cuts and bruises. I don't know if that was because they were strapped in or just
you didn't have your seatbelt on.
No,
he was sleeping, lying down.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was sitting up strapped in with seatbelt, I was just gotten crushed. So it's like kind of like.
So when was the next time you came to? Where were you at?
When I came to, it was just dark, couldn't cough. I was like, just body numb, cold. And the first thing I just wanted to make sure, I was like, hey, anyone there? And then they're like, oh, we're here. I was like, oh, you guys good? Cool. Pull me out. Probably shouldn't have said that because, usually with something with that big of an injury, you want to leave them there because you don't know what's going on. But I was like, they're like, you sure? Like, pull me out. Just pull me out. Pulled out. I see a nice bright moon. I'm like, cool. I'm like, what happened? JC, the driver, was kind of going hysterical. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm like, what's going on? Am I good? What's going on? And just trying to figure things out. Just blurring in and out because I'm saying I'm tired, and you just see them both just like slapping me, just like, you're not going to sleep. It's like, I just want to rest, man. It was, I don't. Maybe that's why they didn't tell me that I was bleeding out because I was tired. I was like, just putting it together. But during that whole time, one of the guys was able to like flag down the trucker that saw the whole thing, and he CB'd on the radio to get emergency services. So I got helicoptered off, and during that time it was kind of funny because don't know what's going on. There's like, oh, like I'm cold, so they brought the blanket over me, and then not knowing that Ryan thought I was dead because they put the blanket over me, but I was just cold. But I'm cold because you're bleeding out. It's like this weird, all this stuff is going on. Next thing you know, I'm getting airlifted. I'm like, oh, cool, all right. And they're just like trying to make sure I stay alive. They're like, hey, name, where you from? Just give you all this information. I'm just like, okay, my name is TJ Lee. My birthday is March 5. Like, this is my number. Oh, like any past things? I'm like, oh, I'm allergic to cats. I don't know why that popped up. It's like, I'm just allergic.
Oh shit! I got 2 cats.
No, it's cool. I've been better now. Just like, but yeah, I was just like straight up, like, I don't know why that popped up.
Yeah. They're hypoallergenic. Right? Just throwing that out there.
They're good. Yeah, I'm not puffy.
That's funny.
So we get to the hospital. I'm there. During, it was like the timing of everything with that, the trucker seeing us. The timing at the hospital, there's supposed to be no doctor on call at that time, but this doctor that's like a specialist in spinal cord injury was there at the hospital, so they flew me in. They got me right into
that's good.
Surgery, which was crazy because just the timing of it.
Right. Was this like I'm assuming it's in the middle of the night that this happened, right?
Yeah, middle of the night, somewhere in Bakersfield, Streets of Willow, Streets of Willow, Bun Willow area. Mm-hmm. Get in. They do the whole vitals check on me. By that time, I don't know how long it took, but I just know when my mom came. I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't say anything to my mom. I just said, I'm just going to hang out with Ryan this weekend. Yeah. I see her. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She got a call from Ryan's, and she just thought it was like a broken arm or something.
So when was the first time that you had heard news of like your condition or your status, and what did they share with you?
It was right before surgery. Like, hey, you got in an accident, you broke your spine. I was like, cool. That's all they could tell me. And I was like, oh, my mom's here. You could tell the rest of that. And they're like, okay, cool. I'm going to get surgery. Hopefully that's going to fix things, or I'm just going to feel better, but I'm still tired. Get rushed into surgery. They're like, okay, we're going to put you to sleep. Count down from 10. I said 10, 9. I woke up like, shit, only got to 8. Like, oh, it's all done. By that point, I really couldn't move. I had tubes down to help me breathe and all that good stuff. And during that time, like, what's going on? Like, it's just still a blur. But I just remember the tube just being super just uncomfortable. I'm like, just looking around, just really dark. Beep, beep. I'm like, I've seen enough like hospital stuff. I'm guessing this is the tube is what's causing it to beep. I'm gonna close this tube to let it stop beeping, because I can't move to hit the nurse button or something. So all right, slowly start gnawing at this tube. First of all, my tooth was they also just jammed the tube in my mouth, so I had these teeth were just all just crooked from the amount of force. I'm just slowly gnawing, and eventually got to the point where I could cut off the air, and it's just flatlining. Nurse comes in, she comes in, I'm like, hey, I could breathe. They're like, oh, okay, cool. I thought you're dead. They're like, oh. It's like, what's going on? And they're like, okay. Like, okay, cool. Like, they turn the lights on. I'm like, oh, shit, it's hella bright now. I was like, okay. They take out the tube, which they probably shouldn't, because I didn't know, later on I found out, half my lungs collapsed. Wow. But I just did that, and okay, I'm slowly figuring out what's going on. The next day, they saw that I could breathe, because my level of injury is really high, where most people at that level, at C4, C5 spinal cord, you can't breathe. You don't have any functions. I think that when I came to was when I was like, oh shoot, I'm paralyzed. I can't do anything. I didn't even know how. Did
you feel that you were paralyzed, or did they tell you were paralyzed first?
They told me I wasn't gonna have any movement, but it wasn't until that moment I woke up. You wake up, and you want to get up, that. It's just woke up. I'm like, oh,
It's like your mind is telling your body to do something that isn't responding.
just numb, just numb and cold.
And how did that like emotionally feel at that moment?
Emotionally, dude, it's funny because emotionally, I was like, okay, cool. Can I get some sleep? I could get some sleep now. God damn, it's been like 3 days. 3 days of no sleep.
You are the most positive person ever.
I was like,
Jesus.
okay, finally get some sleep. Like finally got this tube out of me. Like, I just get some sleep and just like, well, I'll figure it out once we get there. But I didn't, of course, no sleep. Like all of a sudden, like friends, homies came by. I'm like, they were standing really far. I'm like, I can't move. Like, who's there? Like I keep, all of a sudden your senses get really, really like heightened, whatever you have left. Like, so my friends are there. Hey, you gotta come closer. Can't move. And they're just like all sad. I was going like, what's going on? Not knowing how I look from the outside, like outside in. It's like, oh, I'm just talking like, yeah, I'm good. Like, thanks for coming. You good? And they're like, eventually my mom comes in like, hey mom, I'm so sorry. Don't be mad. I'm so sorry. Just like not crying.
So you're able to like talk at this moment.
Just like really low because my lungs collapsed and all this. I was like still dust in my system.
And the first thing that you wanted to say was you wanted to apologize?
Yeah, because I see my mom and she's like, well, right before I went into surgery, I saw my mom. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Don't get mad at them. I'm sorry.
God.
I'm sorry. That was like the biggest part. Like whatever happened, I just felt bad. It's kind of funny, like now looking back, it's like it happened to me, which I don't know what would happen if it was the other way around. If it happened to them. But do that, get to the next hospital. I had the whole like halo set up, like Mean Girls. When like Regina George had that thing going on.
I love that. That's the branding of what you had to endure.
Reference Mean Girls.
For anybody who had to go through anything of rehabilitation, it's like make sure you know to describe it as Regina George Mean Girls.
It's trying to think. So,
well, question: when your mom's there, you're apologizing. What does she say? What does she say to you? What's her reaction?
She's like, "You damn right, you sorry."
She was just super like, it's gonna be okay. You're okay. Don't be sorry. Just kind of like moving forward.
Yeah,
she kept her cool.
Yeah, she kept her cool.
And was strong for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, she didn't scold me or anything. She was like, cool. Like,
damn, imagine she's just Asian mom. Your ass like doesn't matter. You're like on your deathbed. She's like, this is how you fuck up.
The funny thing is, my mom's like not like that because she grew up in the East Coast, so she's very Americanized.
Okay.
So like she moved and she was really young to East Coast and ended up in LA.
So she didn't beat you and stuff.
She didn't do the whole Tiger Mom thing.
That's
She was kind of like, you do what you want, like breaking, like just don't hurt yourself. Okay, have fun. Like like she didn't like you don't have to be a doctor. You have to do this. She's like, at one point I was like, hey mom, I'll be a mechanic. And I saw this commercial called UTI. I would do that. She's like, don't do that one, but do other stuff. You can do everything else.
Tract infection.
That too, which I had for a little bit, like
during
the process. During the process of the whole hospital stay,
comes with a lot of stuff.
like what lungs collapse. I had a pressure sore, which is just a big ass sore head, about the size of like a half dollar, and then it slowly like went down, like just a straight up hole on my ass because I didn't get moved enough side to side. But that was also me saying, "Stop moving me. I'm like, just leave me alone." But then that was my fault. A lot of stuff was like, so like a hole where I was bleeding out of. They had to like pack stuff in.
Wow.
I got this thing called MRSA, UTI. All of a sudden, I had a allergic reaction to like polyurethane or all this stuff where my body just reset.
Wow.
And I just went through everything. Anything
and
that
took away your cat allergies.
Yes. No, probably. I've also been being more healthier, but just like the first time I even like I stood up, I collapsed because the blood rush because I've been laying down for like weeks. Just
didn't they like tell you that you were paralyzed?
So
I don't want to skip to suddenly you stood up and then collapsed. I'm like, dude, how does a human being bounce back from either the feeling of paralyzation and or the news? Because you were how old at this time?
18.
I would have maybe I wouldn't. I don't know what happened, but the point is,
there's a lot of shouting of myself. That's good.
Trying to genuinely imagine, you know what I mean, and empathize with that. I'm like that would. I don't know. I could imagine that breaking me. I could imagine that being so difficult of a thing. Like how did you get from that news to being able to stand up and falling down. But you know what I mean? So like, what was that? I'm seeing Kill Bill. I'm seeing Uma Thurman like move your big toe,
Right. Yeah.
wiggle your big toe. You're like,
Yeah.
what happened?
So when they told me, it's kind of like they slipped it in because they're telling me all these things, which once you get into the, once you get hurt or go to the hospital, that was my first time actually in a hospital. So all these processes were new, all this information was new. So the way they like kind of like they're saying like this happened, X, Y, Z. Oh, your spinal cord injury, C4, C5. I don't even know what that meant, but like they're paralyzed from the neck down. Like cool, and then they just kept going down all the stuff that they diagnosed me with or what's gonna happen. So it's like even the paralyzed like that diagnosis of that is kind of just okay, cool, and they're just doctors kind of just
They
going
just
down the
threw
list.
that at you. You're paralyzed from the neck. You know how much I could move from the neck up? I could blink. I could flare my nostrils. Like what? What? They just threw that at you?
They throw me with a lot of other stats and things like that. Like, oh, okay, paralyzed neck down, 2%, around 2 to 4%, you'll get anything. I was like, I'm just trying to process everything, but everything's getting thrown at me.
Like this
Me
is
and my
all
mom.
just even terminology that you're never hearing.
For the first time.
Imagine
time.
somebody's like, hey, yeah, you could move about 2 to 4% after this. What the fuck?
I'm just like, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
like
I
you
didn't
know
know
what I'm saying, right? Like, what
It
does
means
that
you can
mean?
wiggle your big toe and that's
Yeah,
it.
That's
I didn't know
all
what
you
it meant,
got.
so it's just kind of like, okay, cool. I just know that I have this brace and I can't move, and I need my mom or someone to just flip me over. They need to feed me. Like all that stuff was more vital to what was going on rather than like this information. It's like, cool, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Like I need someone to feed me. Like,
So you're immediately empathizing on other people's situations on how that they can interact with you for you to survive. I'm just
trying to survive.
You are an incredible human being. I love you, man.
Go forward or just like figure out as it goes. So as much information you told me like, oh, you can't move. I'm like, that's cool. I don't care about moving right now. I'm just hungry. I'm thirsty, hot, cold, painful. I can't breathe. Like, there's all this. There's a list. Like moving was there, but it wasn't that big. If it's nice to just like being from like active or trying to be active, because I wasn't the most active kid. Like just like fat little Asian guy trying volleyball and band. Like I wasn't very active to like, oh, hey mom, hey, can you flip me that way? Hey nurse, it was like this is kind of nice. Like, oh cool. Like like I can make a request. Like I want to eat this. I want to eat that because I didn't like the hospital food. Hospital food sucks. So
you're like paralyzation is kind of fresh.
Nice. Like you're like, hey, like you need anything? It's like, oh, I just want some Chinese food. And like, oh, Panda Express. Like that's the only thing out there. Like, oh, this is nice. I got all this food. And this is kind of look at the bright side of things.
And somebody's just feeding you.
I'm like it's kind of like it's nice, getting spoon fed. There's some parts of it, just kind of that's kind of the whole process of like, oh, the next day, like, okay, what things can I do? What things can I vocalize and like advocate for myself? Like, hey, I need this, I need that, which got stronger and like more vocal as like I'm learning more things about it. And it wasn't even until I got transferred from that hospital out there in Bakersfield to here out in Downey called Rancho Los Amigos, like really top of the rehab game, where they started to educate me more and tell me what's going on. And that's when like the therapy department kind of kicked in to kind of just educate me what's going on to kind of get me there, whatever's going on. So with the incomplete diagnosis, you're not fully paralyzed because it's not fully chopped off. So they don't know what's going to come back, but there is possibility things will come back. So slowly as I'm going through this process of, putting the electric stimulation on my ass because I have now it's like the size of a quarter, but still bleeding out. I still have this halo that they screwed onto my head.
The Regina George branded halo, yes.
With nice little fluffy fur and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly, I'm like, oh, hey, can you, like, my mom got to hang up what to do. My little brother, which is crazy because me and my brother used to hate each other, but all of a sudden, like, hey, like, we're like getting a little closer over this. Like, we know what to do the day to day of how to just have me survive. Mm-hmm. And then slowly the therapy team educated me enough to be like, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going forward. Hey, are you still okay? Because all the odds were still stacked up against me to the point where the psychiatrist came in and showed up. Hey, you okay? Because you know what's going on? I'm like, yeah, like, what are we going to do? It's like, you sure you're okay? Because you just went through this traumatic experience. And I was still like, yeah, no, happened, accident, you know. So when we gonna start therapy, what's going on? Like, okay, cool. They just probably thought I was crazy just for like having that kind of a.
They're like, this guy is avoiding his emotions,
Yeah.
and we're gonna see that backlash in a short amount of time, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it did. They're like, oh, this guy's gonna break. I was like, okay, go. So we start going through therapy. During that therapy process, and just starting from breathing exercises, and then just so it's just slowly things just started coming back, like just from pain, nothing, just numbness to pain, just where I just like like I couldn't sleep all night because pain.
So the first thing that comes back when you had no feeling, the first thing that comes back is a sensation of pain.
Yeah.
Now, was that like euphorically amazing? The fact that you recognized you could feel, even though it was pain?
The funny thing is, where I felt the pain, the first area was when they're doing a catheter. So if you don't know what a catheter,
Yeah.
because visually this whole time I'm watching nurses come in and they pull in the catheter. I'm like, I know what that's supposed to be. I'm like, my head, but there's no pain. Eventually, like, as they kept going, I was like, this is something.
I wasn't expecting that reaction.
Okay, this is good. This is good. Like I would tell, and then I would tell like they're like, this is what's happening. They're like, oh, even the nurse was like, you could feel that? I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, we're getting somewhere.
That's amazing. So in the grandeur circumstance of something so bleak, pain in your penis was hope.
Yes, because visually, I mean, when you think about when you like look at yourself from like there's a big visual body connection.
Right.
So I'm looking like every time I saw the tube go in, I'm like and then eventually it's like things are clicking. It's like holy shit, this is it. You can keep going for.
This is amazing. Yeah. Stick it first.
It hurts now.
That's
it hurts
crazy.
now, but this is a start. This is a
off the
start.
hook.
And then as soon as that kicked in,
man.
it's like, okay, what else is going on? All right. I was taking, they were giving me showers, and it's like, all of a sudden, like, like it's hot now. What the heck is going on? Like, it's
so like temperature.
Hot. The
like,
temperature.
On
top of that, the temperature of the showers there was really bad. So it was either really just burn or cold.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's hot. It's hot. I'm like, oh, it's hot. It's hot. That's cool.
Yeah.
So now things are hurting and it's hot.
My
okay.
God.
After that was cold, which I didn't like the cold part because like, it's cold. Right? We put every blanket on this ward on you. I'm like, I'm still cold. I don't know what to tell you. Just
so almost like your body like temperature regulation is kind of like out of whack and is retuning almost.
Yeah, and so they put all this blanket. I had like some mounds of. I'm like, okay. This is in my head. I'm like, this is good. This is good. It's like, let's get there. Let's get there. So we go through the pain. During that time, the whole like say like the UTI things go. That's all this stuff is going on. I mean, you can't even visit me unless you're fully gowned up because I had like a bacterial infection that I don't even know how I got.
Wow.
Now knowing the hospital's like the most. If you got something and if you want to stay relatively like clean, don't go to the hospital because the hospital's where everything's at, you know?
Yeah.
Even my roommate, he works at the hospital, is like, yeah, we're exposed to all that stuff. Right. So like if for a body that's resetting, like, eventually I was going to get exposure to it because I was there for about 6 months and usually you would get sent home in like 3 months, but just slowly things like that would happen where I'm like, I told the doctor, hey, this happened. They're like, oh, good job. Like, keep doing what you're doing.
So your progressive development, something that was maybe at the time like again a little bit bleak. Your developments made it so that you ended up staying there longer, so that they can continue to like monitor and rehabilitate, right? Yeah.
So it was exciting for them, and for me, I was like, oh, cool, I could have another day of therapy. At the same time, like, damn, another day of therapy, because they wake you up like 7 in the morning, like, hey, do this, do that. I'm like, can't do any of this. Why are you telling me to do this? So it kept progressing, which was great. Just had so much support from friends, family. Just every day had like people coming in and be like, hey, like, check this out, guys. That hurts, or this is cold, this is hot. And they're like, in the beginning, they're just like, what the? He's like kind of crazy, like it's crazy. But eventually, as they got, you're like, oh, good. Like, what else you got, Mike? Check this out. You saw that? I could move a finger, like, dang, slowly. Check this out, guys. I'm like eating. It's just like I just completely miss. I'm just like I hit myself. I'm like, tight, right? Dude, good job. Like slowly, like even they're still like, oh, even like show them. I'm like, Mom, I could do it. I could control it. Like, oh, okay. Kind of seeing my dark sense of humor now. Even my therapist is just very
when you go through
just like,
something dark, you need that.
good job. Keep going. We just kept pushing. Eventually, my left side comes in. My right side's still like disabled.
Like how long did it take for your left side to come back to feeling?
Probably like 6 months, but it was like 6 months but just very weak.
Oh
even like standing up, I needed to get stand up and strapped in so I wouldn't fall over. Like, I had no core control. Even right now, my core is not the greatest just because the spinal cord injury. And my left side came in pretty good where I was able to like go from like power chair to just regular wheelchair where I'm just like pushing myself like with one leg. So you see me in the hallway just like going backwards because this was easier than this.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
If you're in a wheelchair, this is freaking hard.
Yeah,
just pushing myself. And just my left side came in just, I don't know how. But the funny thing with the Kill Bill thing, I think I watched it on TV or someone brought a movie of Kill Bill and that
while you were in the hospital.
Yeah, with the wiggle your big toe thing, I did that once and I was just like,
was that one of your first movement sensations?
I think after watching it, I'm gonna try it out. I have nothing else better to do. It was like, and I would wiggle it, or I think I would wiggle it. So I would call the nurse. The night nurses just hated me because, first of all, I'm calling in for every little thing like that, and I was like, this guy doesn't sleep like everyone else sleeps. Like, oh, because I was like always a night person.
Yeah.
Call like, hey, look, did I move my toe? They're like, no. Can you stop bugging me? It's like, all right.
Can you stop watching Kill Bill, dude?
They're like, okay, cool. There's nothing else to watch. So I got really cool like the night staff, but they would see my progression too. And like, oh, that's cool. Like eventually, like, hey, can you wiggle it? Like I wiggled this time. Oh, hey, good job. That's pretty good. I was like, all right. It's kind of cool. It's like a flex, especially when there's other people in the hospital ward area where they couldn't do any of that. It's like, oh, look, I could do this. So. Go from that actually to a point where I kind of hit my peak on the rehab side of what's going to come. So I was like, left leg came in, right side not that great, and then kind of booted me out, just end of services to a point, and that's where I kind of had to do my own stuff. I did go to rehab, but it was they sent me to pediatrics. So up until the age of 21, you're considered a child. So they sent me to rehab with like little kids. I'm like, nah, I'm good. At this point, I could kind of walk around. I use wheelchairs. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go work out at the gym. I'll figure it out. So I got more.
And at this point, were you in a wheelchair? Were you walking?
Wheelchair for long things, like long distances, and then walker. And then eventually I was able to get to a cane. But the wheelchair was great because everybody got the benefit of it. I was like, hey, you guys need parking? Just bring me along, dude. you go to Disneyland. We went to Six Flags. One of the first things I went to was Six Flags with JC and my brother in a wheelchair. And then they just lugged me around. I didn't even have like the greatest like core or anything yet. So every ride took like 5 minutes for me to exit because I'm just like,
so you're riding roller coasters though?
I was riding.
Is that like a not recommended Surgeon General warning?
No,
you're
probably
like, hey,
not.
Recently paralyzed? Jump on a roller coaster.
Every time it's like, okay, cool. But they're having fun. I'm like, it's fun being out. Just being in a hospital for like 6 months, going through summer to like New Year's, like all those
must have been needed.
Right.
all those like holidays that there's so much of, not just being out and about.
But before we get into the post-accident era of everything that leads into some of the most inspirational stuff. Let's just take a little toast to your survival because
I need to use a tiger.
That in and of itself is such a powerful journey. I mentioned this right before but like, I mean, we've sat here in the pod and other spaces in life, had conversations with people and, heard about the rise and fall or the fall and rise. But very, very few people have told such a story that where like, and I only confidently say this, I'm not trying to like pour darkness into like what you've experienced, but like, man, that is such a powerful thing to go to such a place where like, I can only imagine being a 17, 18-year-old being told like, hey, by the way, you're paralyzed from the neck down, and then try to know how to come back from that. You know what I mean? So just cheers to your survival. obviously thankful you're here. But before we get to the next phase, man, the fact that you lived through that, hey, you are a strong, powerful human being, bro.
Cheers,
Thanks.
TJ. Thanks.
Cheers, Chad.
Hey.
Yeah, so we have gone through quote unquote the accident. I find a very, again, personally very inspiring and amazing story. I'm gonna cut quick to the chase. You're now an OT, right? And like Ben said, you know co-founded Offset Med, and you literally are now helping people, serving people in physical and occupational rehabilitation and therapy after you had gone through such a wild experience personally yourself through that same type of thing. Like, what went, if you were to call that moment A, and then where you're at now Z, how did you get there? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's funny because I didn't want to do anything with physical therapy or any type of therapy. I was like over it. Like doing my whole stint, just doing stuff like I can't do this. Why are you guys making me doing these things that I can't really do?
Like when they were making you do PT and OT.
Yeah. So when that was like the last thing on my mind. I was gonna be a teacher, a math teacher. I think that's what I was.
This is before the accident?
This is even before the accident. After the accident, I was like, I was pretty good at math. I did up to like pre-calc.
What did you think you were gonna do pre-accident? Like, were you gonna pursue dance, or
dance and
that was a plan?
Teacher. I was like, well, I went like breaking, like really hard into breaking, and then volleyball took up my energy, but I was still breaking on the side, but not as much as like Ryan and Eris. But I was always there on the sidelines, kind of like me, how I'm Quest. Like you never saw me like I'm with them, but not with them. So I would see him.
You're
like,
the star of Quest, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
But so it was like the same thing where I was like, oh, I didn't want to do anything with therapy. I was like, oh, I'm still gonna be a teacher, because even when after high school, I was like, oh, I'm gonna teach. I can still dance with them, like still break with the crew and this and that. So try to like just restart where everything just got cut off. I think that was like my biggest thing of I just need to go. Like I seen all my friends like 3 years out now. I was like, oh, I just want to go back to life, whatever that was supposed to be. I just want to go back to whatever I thought I needed to do. So I was like just in a hurry to get back into school, all this. And it was just as I was getting to my general education course, I was like, oh, let me learn more about health. Just it went down the path of me trying to figure out my body more. Because every time I go to a doctor, it's just like, oh, you're doing great. Just keep it up. I'm like, what am I keeping up? What am I doing? I should just start. I could get the credits and I could learn more about myself at the same time. And that's and that was also, I founded a support group for adolescents that went through spinal cord injury, because at that time there was no support group at the hospital.
Yeah.
And there was not that many support groups outside. And I was like, I just want to be able to talk with my friends that I made during my 6 month stay, because I saw so many people in and out. I was like, I want a place where we could talk about only like stuff that we would know about. A little bit of dark humor, kind of what we're going through, and also at the same time, we were able to share with the newly injured kids, like, hey, this is what's gonna happen, because like there's nothing prepping. As much as you're gonna listen from the doctors, they don't know what's like the real stuff.
Yeah, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't actually want to talk to a bunch of sober people that are trying to correct you. Mm-hmm. You want to relate with other people that are going through the same journey in order to find your rehabilitation.
And through that, I was able to find that I want to help people. And then what was easy is like, oh, I still have connections to my old hospital. I went there. It's like, oh, OT. I hated that. Screw OT. I'm like PT. I think that was fun, workout and stuff. And I was doing it. It's not really for me. It felt like very gym bro-y, just like doing PT stuff. And I was like, okay, now
there's a gym bro vibe in physical therapy.
Yeah, because it's very like muscles that you gotta get stronger. This and that. Yeah. And OT was very like, oh, I saw what's going on from the outside in. Like, oh, I get why you're telling them to do that. Because I saw from like, I can't do this. Like, oh, I'm playing Jenga with freaking no hands. I'm like, it falls. Great. Jenga. I'm not gonna beat the therapist. I'm not gonna beat a guy with 2 functioning hands, but they have no legs. We're like have like half a body. They're like, you can't use the left hand. I'm like, really? It's gonna fall. I'm gonna lose. So now, like looking outside in, I'm like, oh, I get it. So I'm gonna go back into it. But so I was looking into OT, but I already felt like I was at a disadvantage because I took so much time off that. I was like, I just want the fastest way, and I was occupational therapy assistant. And then I pursued that rather than going for my master's. I went for my associates. So I did my bachelor's, I finished that, and then I didn't know that OT assistant was an associate's, which I was like, if I knew that, I would have just done that quick, but I didn't know all this stuff. So as I was going through the process, and I think during that time was when I like met you. That was like the college years of all the dance stuff. I was still part of it. I was still part of like Eris and Ryan with the guys when it was like 6-step days, because it was just like we're just still hanging out. Like we're still friends. We still hung out. Whatever they're a part of. I still love the dance. Like even though I'm like, can't move that much, I'm still vibing. I still love the culture. Was brought up in it, and so I'll just keep attending and joining as I see it. And that's where I went from like 6-step, I just around it and then they broke up. I went to Quest. Like, oh, like the owner of the Quest building was like, oh, like you've been around it. You seem a little bit more like you know what you're doing. Like you want to run Quest Dance Studio. I was like, okay. I have no idea what I was doing. Just like, oh, I just know like we have good friends that like try it out. I was the Quest Dance Studio manager for like how many years? I don't know. Like everyone came through. It was just me just asking homies, because during that time I was around so many friends, like Anthony, like I just like, hey, you want to come teach? Like that was just literally what it was. I was like, and then he's like, I'm down.
What year were you managing Quest again?
Quest Studio from like 06. So like that's what like Bray started, and then we just formed it up. Also, like just anytime we hang out with friends, like, hey, you're dope. It was just at that time of like YouTube and all that stuff coming up that everyone was really good. But it's funny because most times I didn't know how good everybody was. I'm just like, oh, you dance? You want to come teach Wednesdays? You want to do this workshop?
Yeah, I remember.
Everyone came through like Big Chag, the poor eyes.
You already know we damn near lived there. Yeah,
everybody lived there. That was
always.
hella funny. Like that was like the spot.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool that we're just kind of a cool spot. So I'm doing that. I'm around Quest and I'm doing my OT program, and as I'm like seeing like the parallels of like, oh, like there's dancing. There's not that many resources. I'm like doing things. I'm learning things in OT, and I was like, oh, it kind of crosses over. And at the same time, it's like me learning stuff that I was going through, and I'm like kind of going this big cycle. Like, oh, I could use that to my friends, stuff that I used up myself already. Kind of going, just taking care of them. I think that's what it was. It's like, what do you guys need me for? Or I'm just wanted to help. Like even when I was like recording, like back in the day, me and Shaboob's like YouTube videos of the dance stuff. It's just I just wanted to help. Just want to be part of the scene. I just felt I had like a really strong belonging, just connected to everyone. They saw past my disability, So it's kind of cool. So,
I like I said, this is my first time hearing like your story, like at all. I've never known, and as you're talking about the way that you your rehab, being able to sort of prove the doctors wrong. They say you're going to be paralyzed from the neck down. At least to me, that means that's it. Like that's the diagnosis, right? You're not going to be able to move, and then you're able to sort of figure it out. And I guess I'm just going to ask you the question because I think there's a big mental component to it. And Anthony kind of said it earlier about you just kind of having just this ability to just have this positive thinking towards things, and like, okay, like I'm gonna be stoked off the fact that I can whatever, like move my finger, and these are all wins. And like I would think if I was in your position, I mean, I don't know, I'm not in your position, I didn't experience that, but if I was told you're paralyzed from the neck down, I would be very discouraged. I would be very like, damn, what the hell, like my life is over. And you're just more like, okay, like, well, like what can I do? And like, can I, like, what I'm saying? Oh, now I can at least sleep. There's something about the way that you're able to take the information that's given to you, be it negative, positive, whatever you want to look at it as. I mean, news is news. You choose to see it in the light that you want to see it. And it just seems to me that you, from the way that you were even talking, you're able to take in whatever you're given in a way as this is an opportunity for something. I'm very curious about that. Was that something that you've had all along, like even from being a kid, or was that something that you found through this tragedy? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
because when you tell your story, I'm not saying anything because I'm like, how is this guy able to just be like, yeah, it's all good, like, yeah, it's cool, yeah, I can't move my, yeah, I'm just cold, like you're so like almost nonchalant about some stuff, but I'm like, how are you able to do that? You know what I'm saying? And I think there is a big thing that I would love just to see what you think about it, because you probably don't think about your personal mentality, right? No one really does, but the way that you're delivering your story.
Yeah, it takes an abnormal mental fortitude to bounce
Yeah.
from such a fucking tragedy, bro. Like, that is ridiculous.
And you proved the doctors wrong. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying?
And people don't even know this little anecdote. Right before we started this pod, you're the one who walked into my spot and we're like, oh yeah, I brought my therapy stuff. And you're putting cups on me. You're rehabilitating me.
Yes,
and
yes.
I wasn't paralyzed from the neck down. You're putting cups on me and then you're like pulling my body and you're physically, like, I don't see disability at all.
No.
You know what I mean? Because you're physically moving, you're fixing me. Like, that's not a, we've now entered a realm where you are no longer disabled at all. As a matter of fact, if anything, I'm disabled. You're helping me.
Exactly. I think that's the thing
Thanks,
too.
guys.
I'm like, how are you able to shift from being in a position where you physically were unable, and then you figured out how to become able, and then now you are helping other people. There's like a huge, like that little dash in between, the accident and now. It's an incredible thing that I don't want to bypass.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm genuinely curious
can't
about.
gloss over that greatness.
Yeah, even my girl always says, like, stop, like, you just jumping things, like, I don't know, like, not the greatest storyteller.
That might be the Asian humility thing. Let's get over that real quick.
And also, it's like I didn't, until I look back, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but
it's a huge deal.
Growing up, it was very, like, always about giving back, connecting people, and, like, from a little young age, a lot of stuff from my grandma, just always giving back, being part of community, and, like, you could always help others. It's like kind of going for. As I grow older, it's very, like, still same giving back, but just like growing up with my friends where I grew up was like, it's cool, it's chill, just let it go, it's like cool, like there's like always that next thing that's coming up, like kind of living like a day-to-day mentality. But now, like, looking back at the I guess the area that's what they had to do, because in the lower economics it was a combination of giving back and day-to-day like living that they had to do, where I biked through alleys now I know were like gang territories, where I was just like, well, I didn't see that as a kid, but that kind of got ingrained in me. To when it came to therapy, it was just very like, oh, that's cool, all right, how can I do this and give back to, even when my friends came, like, I'm giving to them, like, hey, like, check this out, whereas I was always giving. It was very, my mantra is one day at a time. So every day, like, what can you do that's anything that's better than the day before? Because, like, the way that my therapists were, like, wording things, so that my whole team was very like, oh, cool, you want to walk? Can you brush your teeth? Like, what's the stuff that you're gonna do before? Let's take it a step at a time. Where a lot of people with, like, when disability is very, like, they look at the end game and then, like, let's get to the first steps. Even, like, the way when I do therapy is very cool, like, pain, you can't move, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, let's get back down and kind of move, like, we'll move forward. Moving slowly is still moving forward. And then the turtle still gets there,
Yeah,
at this point, I'm like, I can't run, but I'll still get there. I think that's what kind of clicked. It was a combination of, like, growing up and just being of service, and that growing up in East LA, Montebello, that area was just very like, oh, it's cool, just chill, it's cool, like, like, very like the streets kind of mentality, and kind of like blended together, where now I'm just like, oh yeah, cool, let's just keep moving forward, like 1%, that whole, like, 1% a day Yeah, one foot in front of the next.
Yeah.
That's
That's what it was. One
Yeah.
foot in front of the other. Sometimes not the best quality step, but I was like, all right, let's keep on going. So
Yeah.
at that point,
Yeah.
it's just like, just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Where that days are tiring, where I need to just kind of reset. So my biggest thing is just like, just leave me alone. I'm just gonna sleep, and then we'll kind of get
Yeah.
back to it. But as long as we get back to it, I think that's like the biggest part, and to keep just moving forward.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it seems that, through your life experiences that just, you didn't plan for those things to happen. Probably not things that you would have wanted to happen, but like, as I'm like just hearing you talk and just sitting across from you, you have, I feel like you found like a purpose for because you're talking about how you hated therapy because you're like, you're asking me to do things that doesn't make sense, and like you're experiencing things from the receiving end, right? They're like asking you to do something, you're like, that doesn't make sense. And so I feel like you're like developing your own way of like, I wish they would have asked me to maybe think of things in a different way, or you know what I'm saying? Because even upstairs before we started rolling, you did a little session on Ant, you did a little session on me, and I was asking, I was like, what are you doing? Because no one's ever done, because you were telling me certain things that like, hey, I'm like water valves and all these other things, but it was just like, this is a whole different type of therapy or treatment that I've never experienced that. And it made me also just even realize that this guy has a whole different way of thinking, you know what I mean? Like, and the way that you approach, rehab to like, like getting our bodies to where we need to go outside of what we're typically used to, like massage therapy, like percussive therapy, all these things. But even the way that you explain, because I think you have a very unique physical experience where you were able to do things that were told to you that you're not going to be able to do this anymore, but you figured it out. Mm-hmm. And so like, I just feel like there's something about even you. I'm a big believer of life happens for you, right? Not to you. It's everything is for you. Even the stuff that hurts, even the stuff that you feel like derailed you at one point, like that's all for your purpose. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of that. Like, you're a part of gamut management. I'd love to, for you to talk a little bit about that, and you journeying into like, starting like Offset and like all those things. Like, I feel like those are very purpose-driven things. Like, I am now going to commit my life in this direction. Mm-hmm. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on like how that's all like unraveled for you.
Cool. All right. So before Offset, I was just trying to just take care of friends. I mean, even with the last round of ABDC, that's like, it's been a while now, just making sure you're okay. I think I was like, everyone was like in the zone, but I remember you okay? You good? Like, you need any work? Or it's like, yeah, we're good. I was just like, I just wanted to see, I went up to like IME, I was like, cool. Like I was like, just wanted to help people out. That's like the biggest thing. Cause as I'm learning a lot of the courses and things that I've personally taken, I got really bored of just like, I need to just do this type of course for OT. I was like, well, that's cool, but there's so much more going out there. Like, as a person, I want to learn more. Like, same mentality when I was in school. Like, I'm gonna learn, and it's gonna benefit me as a professional overall. So I would take courses like things about pain management, like different techniques, just so I know more about myself. Because I'm always trying to make myself feel better. Because I have to say it, but I gotta be selfish, because at the day, like, I'm still dealing with a lot of this diagnosis of things going on, because I'm never fully healed. I would say, like, even on a good day, my body would be like, nope, you're having this great moment. Nope, I'm gonna bring you down here, because my body still is gonna do whatever it's gonna do. I don't have full control over it. So as I was learning these techniques, and I'm like, oh, it helps me out. If it helped me out, I'm broken. I'm like, literally broken at this level. It could help other people out. So even when I approach things, like, I'm not telling you like the definite truth of if it's gonna work or not. It's just my version of truth through my experience. I think that's the biggest part. Because if it doesn't work, it's okay. There's a lot of ways to get to the same goal. So when I was like learning about different methods, I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? Only PTs learn that. Athletic trainers like, why not? For all for just serving the human, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I was like creating that in my head, I was like, oh, dancers need a lot of support and resources that they don't have. So that's where like the idea of offset. Never the offset method was never my idea. It was just more like, oh, I'm gonna take care of all the dancers. I'm gonna be the greatest, whatever you want to call me. I'm gonna take care of all dancers. So I'm like treating like I can't take care of all the dancers. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's like needs to be there needs to be a change and shift because healthcare is not doing right. I was able to meet up with my co-founder Aaron Nor. The funny thing is, we met through a in, internet IG feud, or not a feud, like a discussion, healthy discussion. That was athletic trainers are not licensed in the state of California. They are all across the U.S. except California. PTs won't allow them. I don't know if it's still. They don't. No one in the professions have come at me. Just whatever. But,
Yeah.
but athletic trainers are trying to get certified through OT, and that's when I was like super like gung ho all OT. Like I was helping out the association. This was like, no, ATs can't come in through our thing. Like let the PTs handle it. And I got in a little conversation with Aaron's classmate, and this guy just pops out and was like, "Hey, sorry for my classmate, blah blah this and that." I'm like, "Bro, I don't even know you. Who are you?" I look at his account like, "Oh, you're a dancer. Oh, you're from SoCal. SoCal dancer. Okay, we have some things in common." It's like, "Cool." Like, yeah. I'm like, he was seriously saying, "Oh, he was already coming with kindness." I was like coming out not like hate, but I was just like, the heck, what's going on? Like, figure like knowing that there's powers above us and higher levels that are trying to control us stuff with the licensing. So I was like, all right, Aaron, I'm gonna meet up with you. As that happens, I'm like, we're trying to at the end we're trying to serve the same population, like our friends or dancers, the communities that we brought up with, all our homies. And that's where we're like, hey, we could do this outside of the normal healthcare that we're doing, because what I know, what he knows, we're at the end we're getting to the same results of getting them to move, be stronger, pain free, and just taking care of their body.
Yeah.
So that's how me and Aaron met up, and he had a PT friend that he went to school with that they were both athletic trainers, but he was a PT as well, and that's how we created Offset Med.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
What's the focus or the unique way that Offset Med approaches PT, OT, all that? What is the unique element of that?
Just the fact that our backgrounds are already different. That is like the biggest draw that people are like. A lot of people that when we get volunteers and stuff, like, how do you? There's a line where there's some people that get it. We're like, oh yeah, it's to help them. It's to help this community. It's to help the resources and support. But there's other people where they're like, how are you able to work with XYZ person? I'm like, well, it's not about us. It's about the person that's in front of us. So if we do encounter that sometimes, and it's kind of funny because like, well, we all have our different ways of getting the person to move and like feel better. Then we're doing the like we found out like, oh cool, we're doing the right thing. And that was like the biggest. Or it's like this hybrid remix of things that I kind of like to call it, to get there, to help them. I think that's what it is. It's just giving back. That's like I was able to link up with people that are like similar in terms of just wanted to give back, just good people, and just serve.
I'll speak on just firsthand experience from having some sessions with you guys, because of the fact that a lot, I don't know if all, but like a lot of you guys come from a dance background, or you guys understand the dancers, the physicality it takes in dance, right? There are unique things to a dancer's body versus like another type of athlete, and the way that you understand the types of treatment that's needed for specifically to the dancer. And then even like we're talking earlier about like movement society and like those guys, like it's people who know what, like, as a dancer, these are the types of things in terms of core strength to flexibility to, what I'm saying, balance, all that. And I think the way that y'all approach medicine is it's very unique. It's not like you're not gonna get this from, you just go to your, you know, local PT. You're not gonna get that kind of treatment to counsel, all that. Like the way that you guys do everything is very very like to the dancer. And I'm not saying it's just for dancers at all, but like I've never,
There's like a focused knowledge, right?
Yeah, like I've never gone to a PT where they would like help me do something specifically for what I do. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's something that I recognize for you guys. I think that's dope, and that comes from your personal experience.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
From all our personals, even with the movement side, they're doing great things. Same mindset of the same group of people. I think it's cool to see more people come in this space to give back, and I think that's like the biggest thing. Just keep our friends moving. I think that's like the biggest thing, at least on my end. It's like just keep everyone moving, and just pain free. As we grow older, it's like as we finally figure out like, oh, it's okay to say we're in pain, because we're all in pain. Somewhat. It's just for the longest time we're like, no, we good. But as you get older, like get that ego goes away. It's like, oh, we're in pain.
We're always, am I right? We're always in pain.
Always in pain,
Always,
baby.
Dude. Life is pain.
Which is good. You don't want to feel no pain. I was there.
That's right.
Hey,
you don't want.
We're like, ow, it hurts. Ow, it hurts.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, I get, dude, I'm glad you're bringing that up again, Ant, because like that's something that when you're saying when you were experiencing physical pain, that gave you hope. Because it was like the thing that like I felt nothing physically when I know in my brain I should feel that. And that just paints a whole other, like we can go super crazy deep into it, which we don't have to right now. But the thing that we all avoid in life is pain, right? We're like, oh man, I don't want to hurt. Physical pain sucks. Like heartache sucks, all that. But like the ability to experience or feel pain means you're alive, right? Like pain is a sensation that we try to avoid, but like when you're at a place where you can't feel anything, like you're like, I should feel that, but I can't. So there's this almost like longing to, like, I just want to feel what I know I should feel right now. And so for you, when you were talking about like, man, I know I'm seeing what's happening, it should physically feel something and it's not, but then once it started to, it was like, ouch, yay. Like that's also,
you did not just ouch yay.
Yeah, it's ouch yay, bro. And I don't know, man. I'm just being reminded right now of like, man, when life hurts, because we've all been through some crazy times in the past few years, especially, right? You know, from losing loved ones to, you know, just having our own struggles. Like that's all pains that we've had to endure. And it's just a reminder, like, you know, coming from somebody who has been in a position where you thought, because what was delivered to you as this is what your life is going to look like from here on out, you're just like, no, I'm going to figure it out myself, you know. And then being able to turn that or look at that pain, that sensation, just feeling something, was something that you actually embraced. And like, I don't know, man, that's super sick, bro.
I mean, even lately, I like to put myself in pain. So doing like Spartan races, stair climbs.
You do Spartan races?
I'm gonna do it. I've done a couple. Yeah, Chad, you know,
Chad's a Spartan.
My friends were like super into it, and they're like, "Hey, I know this girl that does it. She's in crutches too." Now I got to meet her, and like I'm really good friends. I was like, "Cool, fuck it, let's try it." Like, you know, that's still like that like upbringing me, like, hey, let's do it. What's it gonna do? So like I did it, and like, oh, it hurt, super painful, like the long burn. The long burn. But then I was like, that's kind of like my life. It's like a long burn. Like even right now, where I'm always in pain. But then I brought my mental resilience and my physical toughness up to where the volume of the pain is lower, but still there. So it's like I kind of like pushing myself to figure out like what's the next thing. Like, they told me I wasn't gonna be able to walk, and I was able to do like the U.S. Bank Tower, and then the Stratosphere. There was like a stair race. Stairs kind of fun because you could just kind of do it, and it's like, oh, I like doing these things. And it's funny, as I'm doing it, people get inspired, and I'm like, I'm not trying to inspire you. I'm not trying to do this. I'm disabled. I'm just trying to do me. I'm glad you're inspired. Okay, let's like it's helping you to be more active. Then I'm doing my job as like a healthcare provider. Like, let's be active together. Sometimes it backfires. We're like, oh, I saw you do that. Let's do one together. I'm like, I like taking a break in between,
Yo,
but
you did a
all right.
Spartan race. Hey, let's run a marathon together.
Yeah,
Come
so
on.
like, we'll get there. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
like, give me a little break, and then let's do. So I have a team of people that we're gonna do in October, a Spartan race. I took a break. I mean, obviously with the past couple of years, but there was a Spartan race at Big Bear. It was the first time in Big Bear. I know a lot of other people that just retired from it because there was the regular race. So there's like three versions of it, like the regular, medium, and hard. They said the regular race was just as hard as like the hardest one because my friend did that whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I was so done. And like after hearing, I'm like, I never want to do this again. And I was like, well, now looking back, I was like, well, I'm not gonna back away from it. I know I could do it. I've done a handful. Like I'm gonna go back up to it where I've been telling friends and they're kind of hyping them up. Like, okay, I think this is the year to come back. So I'm gonna come back this year. We're gonna do another Spartan race. Let's give a go at it because I've been training for nothing. I mean, stair races are kind of okay, but like I want to get down dirty again. Let's just get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, you know what I'm talking about.
Chad's over here getting hype, bro.
It's
Chad is
fun.
like-
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun and fun at the same time. But
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the thing,
I
though.
need to get in
That's
one of
nothing short of amazing. Like, you know, again, just speaking freely, like if I were a passerby and just watched you walk down the street, my immediate social judgment would not land on that fool does Spartan races.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like to sit here and honestly just sit across from you and just hear, I've never even done a Spartan race. I suddenly feel
you want to join?
ever so slightly inadequate. I'm not promising shit on this podcast.
I'll say you can
bro.
No, don't be telling me. I'm
Ryan's gonna join me on the October
Oh,
one.
Well, you know, Ryan's the champion of ABDC. He can
No, you
No.
can do it.
No, point is, I'm just saying, like that is such a wide spectrum that you have experienced in your life, especially from a very earthly and physical point of view. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't know if you get reminded of it enough, you know, but like what you do and the way that you choose to do it, I think, you know, not just what you do, but how you do it is like ridiculously powerful, man. And you know, again, from the hey, that's a nice dude that I met at the party to the holy shit, this dude has done some incredible things that I would never even think capable of the human mind and body. Like you have filled in every facet in between. I just want to let you know that that's incredible, man. And it's again, just like I said in the beginning, it is quite an honor to have you even just share that story, because I don't think, or you know what? I think that one of the first times that I heard the true depth of your story, I thought I was having a bad day. And I heard your shit and I was like, I need to suck it up. and that minuscule thing alone on just like a daily, like a finite moment of my daily life, you know, was something enough that I was like, this dude needs to come on the pod, because there's not enough times that you hear resilience, you know, in a way that is both unnatural and yet at the same time in the way that you describe it so nonchalantly, so beautifully human and natural, that like anybody can do that.
Hey,
know
but
what I mean?
same time, you're part, like being my friend, and I would say throughout it all, it's like timing and support, and with a little bit of luck is kind of what got me here. And you're part of the support, just accepting me, knowing me for all this time, not even like oh, like you can't do this. Like you just kind of accepted me, where if I didn't have all that, it probably wouldn't got me till now to push me to kind of get me through. Because friends, family that was like kind of the reason why I do it for, you know, it's not even for me sometimes. Like I said, like sometimes like, oh, let's do this. Like, all right, let's do it. Like what's gonna hurt if I say no? I mean, it might hurt, but I'm always hurting, so it doesn't matter. But having the support is like, it's been big, because yeah, you guys have, you never bringing it up, this and that. It's just kind of just accepting me, which is like the hardest thing when being outside, when I see like the disabled community, when I'm part of them. It's like, I am very blessed to have this, where there's so much that goes on in the disabled community, where people with disabilities is just like, oh, like they can, like there's so much negative that I'm so blessed to have all this positivity in my life and just friends doing amazing shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, but just looking at you guys like from the back in the UCI days to that, and like just knowing you of like I know so many great people like they're asking me how did you get connected? I was like, I don't know, just good people attract good people, you know, and we're just all supporting each other because at the end it's like who we have and the support and the community was like the biggest thing that's like pushing us forward, and that pushing us forward as a whole generation, population, humanity kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of the disabled community, I know you're very active in that space. Can you talk a little bit about what gamut management is and what you guys are doing over there?
Oh, so that's hella funny because as I was just like, so I used to have a blog. I ran for about 7 years. It was very in the beginning of the disability and social media blogging space. The funny thing is because I see so many friends that are in the influencer, the YouTube, the blog, like just able body stuff that I was like, oh, there's like, I could kind of see like, oh, we need this on our end. Like they didn't have this for us. Like when people were like, posting things about like, oh, or vlogging, like they didn't have that in the disabled community. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna just kind of do it in a way that I want to without being connected to. I'm not tied down with like this foundation. So I'm just sharing what I know. As I was doing that, I got to follow Zappos, and then Zappos Adapted, which just came very organically. They just wanted to help people find the right shoes. And it started out, and it turned out they're doing a fashion show. I'm like, I'm up there like, oh, you guys looking for models? I was like, hey, I want to be a model. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, hey, baby, I'm gonna be a model, huh? I get a reply back. Oh, I was chosen. Like, oh, dang, okay, cool. I did the first Runway of Dreams. I was just the first all like disabled fashion show with people with disabilities. I guess I did something good, and they're like, "Oh, whenever you guys need anybody in LA, I'm your man. I'm all about like I didn't even think about the representation, inclusive. I was just like, you need someone. That was kind of fun. I just gotta walk down the runway. I'm down. You get free clothes. All right, cool. They just had another Runway of Dreams, the first time in LA because it was usually they did the first one in Vegas, they did it in New York Fashion Week, and they had one in LA, and it's like we already had you on the list. I'm like, oh, tight, I'm down. It's like, oh, if you're not represented, we would like to represent you. Okay, cool. This is fun. This is cool. So I could just kind of just walk and do my thing, and that's it, right? Yeah. So that's been interesting because I never see myself as doing any type of modeling.
That's hella crazy.
That's
I'm
right.
imagining that moment. The doctor's like, "Hey, you're paralyzed from the neck down." You're like, "Nah, fool. I'm a runway model and an OT. Trust.
Watch me.
It's cool
Watch
because
me.
I get to use the OT like knowledge and my own knowledge I get to talk to brands. I'm like, hey, I like what you did with this clothing piece, and like it's very adapted. It helps out. So I was able to get a lot. This year was very blessed. I got like 4 or 5 like modeling gigs where friends were actual models. Like, yo, you got more gigs than I did this year. I was like, well, I don't know how.
You're prettier."
Hey, there's way prettier people than me. I was like, I'm cool. I'm okay being the Asian guy. I'm all for it. I get when I get picked. It's so funny. So it went through that to kind of just being there and just showing up where they wanted to show people stories, real people, and that's how Gamut got connected with Gamut. That's how they signed me, and
That's dope.
just representing. I think that's because we just need more. It was good. It was funny for Asian API month. I was like, this is great. I'm getting booked. I'm like representation.
Yeah, May's a good month for us.
Yeah, May was a good month. And then like what, July now? Like this July is actually Disability Pride Month, which is like I'm so like kind of like, oh cool. Like it's weird to say Disability Pride because I never had pride in my disability, but kind of now taking power into like, yeah, it's okay to say I'm disabled. Like we taking back the power.
Yeah.
You know, so with the whole gamut management, they've been great with blessing me with all these opportunities where they're just telling me, be yourself. I just did my last thing I did was Tommy Hilfiger. It's hella crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to do it? Yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna say no. I was back there, and Mr. Hilfiger comes. He straight up goes, "I've been doing this for so long. This is where my heart's at." I'm like, what? Like, I love, this is where I want to do this. My passion. I was like, dang, that's crazy. And then I did my practice run. I was with Eris. He's
You
like,
met
record
Mr.
me.
Hilfiger?
I met Mr. Hilfiger.
We used to wear that stuff in junior high.
I still
Dude.
wear it, man. I got Tommy Hilfiger boxers, bro.
Yeah, that's totally true. I know this. Fuck.
I was there with Eris, so we're just having a fun time. I'm like just being dumb. Like, we want more of that. I'm like, you just want me to keep doing it, all right? I'm gonna just keep doing stuff till they say no. Just
What was
just
Eris just pretending he was disabled too, or what? What's going on,
like,
dude? What's he doing?
I had to book a gig, bro.
Yeah, man.
I brought him out as he was gonna capture like social media stuff with them. Well, first, the timing was weird where I couldn't bring Hannah with me, so I was like, Eris, roll me. Come on, it's gonna be free food, chill. There might be open bar. If you could cut something for me, like it'd be cool. Like, because when I go there, I'm so involved in it where I don't get to recap. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
you're
look
the
back
star,
on it.
dude.
Yeah.
It's just weird because all of them, like the Quest guys, or all my friends, like they're the stars. I'm always like, I didn't get to shine, so now I get a chance. Like, oh, I'll make sure I record, get this.
Yeah,
get
that's
this.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm there, like, yo, this is hella funny. Yo, this is hella like I'm like doing like more of that. Like, you guys, all right, just keep going. Let's keep rolling with it, and. Yeah, it was like an amazing experience. Just being next to these guys where they're really, really like posing. Like, oh man, that guy is like really, that's his thing. I'm just here trying to at this point, I'm just trying to have fun, and people like it. That's great. It's like just part of my story to tell because everyone has a story. I think that was like the biggest part, like connecting. So the people under Gamut as well too, they all have crazy stories and their own ups and downs. It's great to be able to show it in fashion because fashion's very, looking good makes us feel good, right? And for the longest, adaptive clothing was not very fashionable. It didn't look great. Even to have anything that's like a Velcro here and there, it looked all whack, like the shoes and like having brands and companies being more inclusive and making cool pieces. Like recently, what a Jordan 1 highs that had Velcro and zippers, and like they're actively thinking, and just because of the first Runway of Dreams and these companies that are representing and taking active feedback from us to get from us by us, and now it's like FUBU from us, like it's kind of we want to look like, why can't we look good?
Right,
that's the biggest part.
Totally. I remember what's the Nike Adapts? You remember the Nike Adapts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, we'd done some stuff with Nike, and that's all good. And then we got gifted some Nike Adapts, right? And they were the Back to the Future type shoe, but in like real time, right? You would push a button, and literally there's a charging. I still have it. It's upstairs. There's like a charging base and stuff like that, and you push a button, and the shoelace is automatic. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, this tech is crazy. This feature, like what ballers, what basketball players is gonna grab this, blah blah. And then John Shee tells me about how he got those shoes, and he gifted them to Christy's dad, I believe, who was in old age and like struggled with like shoelaces, and his hands would shake and it'd be really, really difficult. So he said, yeah, I gave him the Adapts, so he could just put it on his foot and press a button, and it's ready to go. And I'm like, my dumb ass wasn't even thinking about how sick this is for people who can, you know what I mean? I was like, what swag? It's like somebody's so goddamn lazy, you know what I mean? They're like, yo, this is the new tech. I got to go back to the future on this and just press a button. And that's like the swag of it. But you don't think about sometimes the intention, the function, or the possibility and the beauty in the advancement of technology, and just even the thoughtfulness or the empathy of people that can create products, you know what I mean, for people. And it's a beautiful and just eye-opening thing to see that entire sphere or spectrum of just acceptance and or just thoughtfulness, where people will, there's careers, there's professions, there's purposes that drive people to continue doing what they do based off of that empathy, and I think that's a wonderful thing to comment on.
It's good business too. I mean, the older population is gonna keep growing. They're gonna need accessibility needs. If when you think about it, uh, we're all gonna encounter disability one time or another. It's just just with age, we're not gonna be able to do the same stuff. But we just kind of don't think of it like that. It's very like the physical stuff, the things we see. It's just so just having this market emerge is going to game change for our generation as we get older. Will make things easier, but it's also going to make the disabled community just as much more empowered too. Because I think it's the biggest. It's so funny when you think about it. It's like we're all going to be disabled at one point. Just age in general, but we're just never taught that right in school because disability was such a taboo thing. Or like, oh, we put them here, but it's nice that like gamut man, like the people I connected with in that space of their models or influencers, like they're getting their story out to kind of push brands and companies to do this for the community. It's helping everybody out. I think just good design is going to help everyone. Like I've seen, I was wearing one of my shirts. It had the Velcro on the shoulders, and it's like, oh, that could have helped me when I had my shoulder surgery. Like, it's not. It's to help everybody out. It's not just a disabled shirt. This and that. It's like you can make it look cool, and it just helps out. Even I got gifted a lot of shoes too, and I gave it to people with older grandparents, or just like, hey, like I think you might benefit more from. It's like, and that's like the cool part when I see this emerging space. Even though it is the money part, it is good business, but it's also we're helping out a lot of people. Just design right from the beginning. And just now there's active collaboration, not just using the community, which was like the big thing for a longest. Very like, oh, just use this stable coming for input, and they're doing now like they're actively having us in there, the whole inclusivity part, the equity part, like
Still,
That's super dope, man.
I mean, dude, you've your life story is a freaking movie, bro. And like I said earlier, like I haven't heard the story until now. And I love just, I don't even want to call it positivity just because that's just like, okay, whatever, hashtag positivity. But there's something about the way that you see life that I just don't think most people don't even have that ability, or maybe not, I don't say ability, but they just don't choose to see it that way. You know what I'm saying? And you've been dealt a hand that, from where I sit, that's a difficult hand to be dealt, and to like choose to be like, all right, well, here's what I'm gonna do with that, and I'm gonna help people. I want to serve people, and you have now built a career path, from offset to the way that you understand therapy and helping people, to being like a model, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think you've built a path for yourself for your, I don't even want to just say like your career, but it is your career. Like this is like what you're dedicating your time and energy into. And I feel like there's just so much more to come for you. And it's a space that not a lot of people know about. I don't know about this. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm literally learning over here sitting across from you. And so, but everybody lives this life chasing some like idea of success. You know what I'm saying? We want to, get to the finish line and be like, man, I did that well. And so, success is whatever you make of it. So for you, in the life that you've lived, how do you define success?
just being happy, and if you just stayed true to yourself. Just this past couple of years is the more I was doing me, was the more opportunities came. When before I felt like I had to be a certain image or do the certain things to get connected to do these opportunities. But the more I was just showing myself, was the more things were coming back. It was kind of like attracting where people were listening, where I didn't think it was people were listening. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm just keep doing me at this point, just putting it out there. As much as like social media, I'm just kind of like whatever it's about. It's a good way to connect, and it is connecting with people, especially in the disability space. They just kind of hit me up like, hey, like, can you help me out? What's this? Oh, there's this event. If I could connect you to things, I think that's like my big thing, where I'm just, friend circle so is like big. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's like, oh, I know someone that does have one, kind of just lead you there, like just resource. I'm kind of trying to be like your Sherpa
Yeah.
or your Google of what you gotta do. You know, it's kind of
Mhm.
nice. So yeah, just being happy and just being true to yourself. But that took a while to try to figure out too, from the beginning of, oh, I knew what I was gonna be to disabled, and then, oh, I got to catch up to everybody. Oh, literally seeing that, oh, people are all of a sudden like they're switching careers, and that wasn't the traditional path, wasn't what it's supposed to be, and we're still trying to figure it out. I think I was talking to actually JD McElroy. We had like a nice like, I've had talks with him, but not like a deep talk, and he was like, yeah, I was talking to my parents, and they're just trying to figure it out. We're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But as long as you could do it and be happy with what you've done, and kind of, it's just a journey. I think that's the cool part. And now I make sure I can stop and look back and, oh damn, I did some pretty cool stuff. I'm happy about it. You know, I think that's like really big. I just gotta make sure, and then I tell my my partners for Offset Med too. Like, hey, they're they're younger than me, so like, hey, what would your younger self think of you right now? And then for one of my partners, he's like, damn, he think I'm hella cool. I know all these people now, like all these dancers. I get to meet. It's like, you're welcome. You got to meet them just because they're my like friends, but it's kind of like, oh, my younger self would be like, this, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of,
Hey man, you're amazing.
You are amazing, bro.
And it's just like, you know, can't say it enough, but especially like being sentimental to the fact that, again, my wonderful Nina is also a doctor of OT. Like, I see what you do. I'm like, dude, thank you for your service. Thank you for personally inspiring me from all the years, you know what I mean? Both like, you know, indirectly, and just thank you for coming out here and just sharing your story, you know, with us and our people, because, you know, I think nobody's short on inspiration nowadays, you know, and it's, sometimes we bring people on here and we talk about people's successes and their journeys, and those things are inspirational. But it's actually, for me personally, sometimes when I am able to experience, hear of, or relate with people's struggles, that gives me a different set of purpose and new motivation. And dude, you know, I haven't been short of inspiration from your journey. Every single time I've been some sort of witness to it. So, you know, you being here today, literally in the humble abode of the Kinjaz podcast and sharing what you got to share, you have no idea. I'm so stoked about this episode going out to our people, because like everybody needs to relate, and everybody needs to put things into perspective. And your story is one of valuable perspective.
Oh, thank you guys. No, thank you. Thank you for just being there too. Just being my friends.
Always, dude.
Just unconditionally.
Here, man.
I think that's the coolest part. Just unconditionally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great conversation. We obviously, you know, this went really, really long, but it's so important that people got the details, because that's what makes it powerful. But, you know, we're going to jump to it so we can start closing off. But, like, where can people, like, find you, you know, social media, find your story, find your journey, anything about you, so they can follow you? Throw that out there real quick.
Just right now, Instagram, TJ Lee, TEEJYLEE. And then from there, I'll have it all connected to my other stuff.
There we go. Yeah, we'll plug that in the show notes. But we're not going to let you go without doing a lightning round with you.
All right, let's
This is how
go.
we do this. We're going
Kinda
to wrap
ready.
it up with a quick lightning round. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's your favorite snack?
Dark chocolate.
I like dark chocolate.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, that's hard. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Nice. That's a great
Wow.
one. Who's the biggest influence on your life?
My grandma.
Grandma.
Man, least favorite Marvel superhero.
Least favorite superhero. No. Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
That's
Least
the
favorite.
least. That's the
Okay.
least. I like them all, but right now, yeah, I don't know what.
All right.
It just came off the top of my head. That's
Right,
the first
It's
thing.
honest. It's honest.
Low-key Russian spy, no big deal.
Who's your favorite dancer of all time?
Oh, dancer all time. Shoot, like Michael Jackson.
Okay.
It's
It's a
good.
good one. It's a good one. What's your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Watching like season 1 Family Guy or just Bob's Burger. Just sit there and just
Family Guy and Bob's Burgers. All
That's
right.
good. That's good. Least favorite Quest crew member.
oh, least favorite. Ryan. I hate Ryan.
That guy sucks, dude.
I know, it's the worst. The worst.
Last time you cried and why?
Last time I cried. I think watching what was that movie? What's that Disney movie with the Spanish one?
Encanto.
Not Encanto.
What the boy?
Yes.
The boy.
Oh, Luca.
No.
No.
Coco.
Coco.
Thank you, Chad.
That I made a good cry.
Mm.
And it was funny
That was a
because
good
I was
one.
That's like Mexican.
But TJ grew up with Mexican.
I'm just saying. The Spanish threw me off.
sorry.
Okay. What is a dream opportunity for you?
Dream opportunity. Right now, I'm kind of working at that dream opportunity, but taking care of Team USA for breaking when it comes to
Let's
like,
go.
Whoa.
That's huge.
I've been taking
That's
care
huge.
of. We have a few people where we're training towards different goals, but with breaking being in the Olympics officially 2024, I would like to officially be taking care of them, not like unofficially right now.
That's amazing.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Love that. What is your biggest fear?
Just not being able to support and provide for my friends and family.
Damn. You want children?
Getting there.
Okay.
I don't even want a dog right now, but I know like afterwards it's like, you get that feeling right now.
Heck yeah.
Okay. What is your proudest moment?
Dang, I think there's like different stages of that, but physicality wise was doing like the Spartan race, my first one, because I didn't even know if I could do it.
Hell yeah.
Graduating college because I didn't even think that I was gonna be possible because, man, just being in the system where I was on disability where I only had $700 a month for that whole time. Like you guys knew me, like I was only like barely living, and the system is like not meant for me. So not being able to finish college was like one of my proudest moments.
That's huge, man. I love that.
Damn. If there was somebody out there right now who is paralyzed, physically or figuratively, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Oh, that's good.
Ooh. Just take it one day at a time. Just kind of figure out what you need to get done to just make your one day better. Because then you can just reset the next day and just keep working at it.
Heck yeah.
What is your favorite quality about yourself?
My outlook or just being able to just kind of like brush things off and like just keep it moving forward.
That's good. If you could prescribe something to the world, something that everybody should do once a day, what would that be?
Love yourself more. Love yourself. Love each other. Just love. More love.
Love it, man. So we're Kinjaz over here. We're inspired by all kinds of things of mastery. That concept of understanding a technique, having poured yourself hours and hours of your time and energy into something. Bruce Lee has this quote where he says, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And everybody, I feel like everybody has something that they've put that much time into, be it big or small. What is something that you feel like you've mastered in your life?
Handling pain, like physically, mentally, just because I'm always doing it. Yeah. Right now, it's like, even right now, my right side's like, but like, it's like low enough where I'm doing stuff with meaning, connecting with friends, that it's like, cool.
It's like worth it to endure.
Yeah. I mean, no pain, no stress, you're dead. There's some kind of pain, there's some kind of stress that kind of keeps us going,
Whoa. pour this man another shot. All right,
I'm processing that one right now.
I'm like,
that's bro.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Dude. Yeah. DJ, dude. First of all, man, just thank you for your time and coming out here and hanging out with us and sharing your story. Like I said, this is my first time ever hearing it, so I'm just learning and soaking it all in, but I'm also just in real time. Like it makes me realize things, you know, we're all selfish, right? We hear something and it's like, how does that apply to me? But like, you know, you talking about how you've mastered being able to take pain, it just makes me feel like, damn, dude, like I'm not in your physical condition. I'm not living my days in your shoes, and just seeing the way that you can take everything as an opportunity to learn, to inspire, to encourage, to bring people together, to like create something in a space that wasn't once there before. And then, you know, you mentioned a handful of times, you know, that like this dance community, you know, the community, your crew, Quest, that we love, that embraces you for who you are. They don't look at it as like, oh, this guy has this thing. It's like, no, dude, this guy's hella dope. He's hella nice. He's hella positive. And then you're also doing things to progress the dance community. You're talking about the Olympics and wanting to be a part of like that whole progression of dance and sport. Like you're everywhere, dude. You're like literally intertwined with so many different spaces, from mental health, physical health, dance, and just being a dope person. And I'm just taking it all in, and I just want to acknowledge you, bro. I'm inspired. I'm just grateful, bro. Just grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, so yeah, you already plugged your stuff. You know, we'll plug all the socials and all that in the show notes. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If this is the first time you've tuned in, we got a whole catalog of amazing people, amazing stories. So go back, look up Kinjaz Podcast, man. We're out there. Follow us on socials, Kinjaz Podcast, cast with a K. Let us know you're listening. Screenshot this episode. We'll regram all that stuff. And if you're really digging it, get into your podcast platform, write us a review, leave us a 5-star rating. That helps us get visibility on the charts, and share it with your friends. And yeah, I don't know. Thanks for spending time with us, you guys.
Peace out, Kendra Bang. Another great story, another great guest, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.